So I'm going to be sharing some of the management challenges we do face in supporting haematology point of care and how EQA also helps us maintain consistency and trust in patient results. So throughout this presentation, we will cover the journey of point of care and what it means for external quality assurance, the purpose and importance of EQA in point of care testing, the community of point of care users. We'll look at the common challenges encountered at UK NEQAS, some practical solutions as well as performance monitoring, and also key takeaways from today's session. So over the past few years, we've seen how quickly point of care testing has expanded. So from hospital wards and GP surgeries to pharmacies, occupational health clinics, and even community settings where patients can self-test in the comfort of their homes. This is really transforming how we are seeing testing happening. Now, the appeal is being fast results, immediate decisions, and greater convenience for patients. But as testing moves further away from the traditional lab, we're also seeing a shift in who performs these tests, such as nurses, pharmacists, healthcare assistants, and as I have mentioned, patients, who may not necessarily have formal lab training. And as great and as exciting as it is, it's also means that our approach to quality assurance has to evolve. Quality can't just stay within the walls of the lab. It needs to travel with the testing, ensuring that wherever results are produced, they remain reliable, comparable, and also safe for the patient. And that's exactly where EQA, so quality assurance or assessment, comes into play. It does play a vital role in maintaining these standards and giving confidence in the results generated outside of the lab environment. So let's start by looking at the purpose of EQA and what it achieves within the point of care testing setting. So the purpose of EQA includes quality assurance. It does help labs and clinics verify that the testing procedures and results produced are accurate, reliable. It allows you to identify and correct any potential issues or errors in your processes. By participating in EQA programs, you can compare performance with others using the same devices. This also helps identify areas for improvement and ensure that your results are in line with your peers. Many regulatory bodies and accreditation organizations require participation in EQA programs as part of your certificate process, and regular participation does demonstrate your commitment to maintaining high standards. EQA provides an opportunity for staff to learn and improve their skills. The feedback from EQA programs can be used for training purposes and to enhance the competence of all staff. It does help us in identifying systemic errors that might not be evident within the internal quality control processes that you have in place. This early detection can prevent incorrect results from affecting patient care. EQA is also a tool for continuous quality improvement. By regularly assessing performance and making necessary adjustments, you can improve your processes and outcomes over time. Participation in EQA programs also enhances the credibility and trustworthiness, both with patients and other healthcare providers, by showing that you meet the expected standards. So without EQA, we would lose the objective checks, and that go a long way in safeguarding patient safety. So the role of EQA, or proficiency testing, is an essential part of quality management systems, and these can fall into two categories. We have the internal quality control. This is purchased by and organized by the user. This is used to confirm the day-to-day performance of your point of care device, and it answers the question, are today's results the same as yesterday's? This everyday process of detecting analytical errors ensures both the reliability and accuracy of test results. And then we have EQA. This is a spot check or regular interviews organized by an external provider, such as UK NEQAS. This confirms accuracy and comparability. So we are asking, are your results the same as other sites? By testing the same blinded sample across all sites, EQA shows how accurate each lab or clinic is and whether their results align with the wider group. So both IQC and EQA are needed to ensure good quality results and good patient care. the results of which provide a long-term retrospective and independent assessment of your performance. And this in turn gives an indication of bias from consensus target and the target mean. It demonstrates competence to third parties. It allows labs and clinics to learn from others, sharing best practice. And it allows performance assessment of methods or kits, as well as your lab or clinic practice. So one of the biggest challenges we've seen with point of care is the diversity of users now involved. Traditionally, as you are aware, testing was carried out by labs scientists, but today it is often performed by non-lab trained staff, as I previously mentioned, staff who are already balancing patient care with multiple clinical tasks. We're also seeing independent pharmacies and GP practices adopting point of care for rapid tests. There are occupational health providers using it for employee screening, and even forensic and clinic trial units incorporating this into their protocols. Beyond healthcare, diagnostic and medical device companies use point of care in field evaluations or product trials. And we now have fitness centers and wellbeing clinics introducing basic health checks using point of care devices. So you can see the scope has expanded. And with that comes a real mix of training backgrounds, testing environments, and quality expectations. For us at UK NEQAS, this means that support and communication have to be clear, accessible, and flexible enough to reach all the different user groups. So what are some of the common challenges that we encounter when we're supporting point of care testing sites? So the first is understanding the purpose of EQA. Many users assume that if their internal QC is fine, that's enough, especially if they are getting acceptable patient results from their device. They may not fully appreciate that EQA looks beyond internal stability. It ensures accuracy and comparability across different sites and devices, providing assurance that the device that you're using is operating to an expected standard, as well as demonstrating comparative performance alongside your peers. Now, training is another major challenge. Point of care staff that very often do not have a lab background. They often rotate quite regularly and sometimes are covering the unit or clinic because the usual staff member who runs the device is off. So training gaps can be seen due to high staff turnover and varied backgrounds and skills of the skilled staff. So without consistent training or refresher training, errors in running or submitting EQA samples can occur. In these settings, point of care does happen only on certain days. If an EQA sample arrives at the wrong time for that clinic, testing may be delayed or even forgotten, resulting in a late or non-participation for that survey. Competing priorities can also be a factor, resulting in a risk of missed or delayed EQA testing. So it's important to note that not knowing how to run EQA samples in the first place can also impact on result submission and performance. So I want to take this time to note that EQA samples should be run as a patient sample under routine conditions using standard testing procedures. Also, please ensure that units of measurement are consistent with the EQA scheme. So for example, if you're providing results in grams per litre and the scheme needs grams per decilitre, you do need to make sure that you're submitting your results in the correct unit. An inability or difficulty in accessing the UK NEQAS website can also be a barrier when staff need to submit the results. Sometimes we have found that there's one registered user or a single email contact. So if that person is away, results don't get returned. Again, this will result in a site not participating in that particular survey. Factors that can also affect results being returned are missing logins, single user dependency as mentioned, and forgetting the closing dates. It's very easy for the paperwork that is sent with the samples to be put somewhere else, or as I mentioned, if there's only one person who is dedicated to running the clinic and other people are filling in when that person is off, that information can be mislaid. Then there's reviewing and interpreting EQA results. So understanding your result versus a target, for example, using flags and performance indicators, identifying the cause of out of consensus results, Because users may not be used to reviewing and interpreting the UK NEQAS reports, they might not understand what actions need to be taken, whether to recalibrate, repeat testing, or even report the issue, which will differ from guidelines in place when an abnormal patient result is observed. So in such an instance, you would send the sample to the lab for repeat testing. Communication gaps can also contribute to the challenges we experience at UK NEQAS. When results aren't shared between point of care testing teams and the lab, we do lose visibility and control. Quality issues can go undetected, compliance risk increase, and ultimately patient care can be affected. So communication isn't just about good practice, it's a key part of maintaining safe, reliable testing, without which we can see missed quality issues and notifications of issues. Errors or biases in point of care testing results may go undetected and unnoticed, resulting in systemic problems persisting for extended periods of time. Loss of governance and accountability, making it impossible to demonstrate compliance or trace corrective actions. There could be consistency in patient care, where discrepancies between point of care devices and testing and lab results may lead to conflicting clinical decisions that will impact on the patient. Delays in investigations. So when performance issues arise, such as out of consensus EQA results, labs have no data context to investigate root causes or trends, and time is lost trying to retrieve or verify information retrospectively. There's duplication of work, where results may be recorded manually or stored locally rather than being integrated into the lab or hospital information system, increasing transcription errors. And there's also reduced learning and support. So sharing results helps identify training needs and promotes collective training. Without it, each site operates in isolation, repeating the same mistakes rather than improving together. So why do we measure performance? Well, we want to ensure patient safety. Reliable results protects patients. Measuring performance helps identify errors, biases, or even trends that could affect clinical decisions. We want to support continuous quality improvement. Performance data allow sites to recognize weaknesses, correct issues, and strengthen their testing process over time. Point of care testing and lab results must align. Measuring performance ensures consistency across different settings, devices, and users. Performance scoring also shows whether results fall within expected limits. It gives each site a clear view of how well their system is performing. Accreditation bodies expect evidence of ongoing performance monitoring. So, UK NEQAS helps sites demonstrate this compliance when you are participating in our programs. EQA performance also highlights issues that IQC alone might miss, such as calibration drifts, reagent problems, or even operator technique. And we also offer an external and impartial view of performance that cannot be influenced by internal pressures or assumptions. So in summary, we measure performance for two reasons. So we're considering engagement and accuracy, and we're looking at participation score and analytical performance score. Between the two, we are looking to protect patient safety and help users to improve. And as often as it is thought, this is not punitive. EQA is purely for guidance. So EQA reports can feel overwhelming when you're not trained to review them. You've got charts, plots, targets, DIs, performance scores. These can leave you wondering if your results are satisfactory or unsatisfactory. Are the results within consensus? Or even it can leave you questioning what action should you take? So in the absence of a designated person who would review the reports with you, you can really feel out of your depth. So I thought I'd take the opportunity to take you through our EQA report. So overall, this is what UK NEQAS, the hemoglobin program report looks like. And some of you may be familiar with this. So the things that you would see on the report is the program information. You have the distribution details, so the survey number and distribution date. You have the PRN, the number of pages for the report, and the identifier of your device. The report will show you the survey contents and the sample details. The non-participation score, if you have one. So the participation score reflects whether you have returned results consistently over the most recent 3 surveys. So a score of 0 is given when you have submitted results on time for the last 3 surveys. A score of 50 is given for each late or non-return. The participation score shown in reports is the total for the most recent of the 3 surveys. So 50 means that you're late or non-return for 1 out of the last 3 consecutive surveys. 100 would be a late or non-return for 2 out of the last 3 consecutive surveys. And this does constitute to a unsatisfactory performance. If you have a score of 150, this is a late or non-return in all 3 of the last consecutive surveys, and this is deemed as a persistent unsatisfactory performance. Now, this chart shows your analytical performance score. The score is a guide to how close you are to the target value, how consistent your performance is over time, and how your performance does compare to your peers. The performance score is a long-term retrospective assessment of lab performance. So you have, as you can see from the green arrow, your satisfactory performance. So this means your results are within acceptable limits compared with the target value, and no action is required as performance is stable and reliable. If your performance is borderline, it's worth investigating now to prevent it progressing to an unsatisfactory performance, as there may be some measures that you can put in place to improve your performance. When we look at unsatisfactory performance, this is a single result or analytical performance score has breached the defined action limit. So, for example, your performance score is greater than 100. This indicates an error, and that does need investigating. Poor performance is notably outside acceptable limits, so often with large deviation from the target or repeated out of consensus results. This signals a significant issue affecting accuracy and requires prompt action. And then when you're looking at persistent poor performance, repeated unsatisfactory results over time, for example, you've got a performance score of equal to or greater than 100 in 2 out of the last 3 consecutive surveys. This does indicate something is going on, and you do need to look into this to look at how you can resolve the problem. So the report will also show you your method. So the grey box where it says your method is the instrument group that your machine or device is performance assessed in. You'll also see your instrument that you're registered for on the program, the sample quality. So you will see what you have reported at that survey, and you'll also see the satisfactory rate reported overall for that program. You will see the results you returned and the target value, which is the consensus result returned by participants in your instrument group. You'll see the DI, which is a deviation index. This represents how far your result is from the target. So for reference, a DI that's less than 1 is good, between 1 and 2 is satisfactory, between 2 and 3 is borderline, and greater than 3 may indicate that there is a problem. You have the N. This is the number of return results, and the N trimmed is the indication of the number of results remaining post the statistical trimming. And then you'll also have your performance score. So the analytical performance score is a running score calculated from the DI for the most recent 6 samples or 3 surveys for which results have been returned for the analyte. A DI average of greater than 2.77 over 6 specimens or 3 surveys would be required to reach a score of greater than 100. So it's worth noting that when you are reviewing your reports. And I will also note here that variations are expected across participants, which is why we assess performance over a longer period of time and not necessarily at each survey. So a high DI at one particular survey doesn't necessarily mean there is a problem, always worth looking into, but it's always worth looking at the pattern of performance over the last 3 surveys to deem if you do really have a problem. So when we strip it back, every element of an EQA report is simply telling us a story. And that story is where your results sit, what the target is, how the rest of your peer group has performed, and whether anything needs your attention. What you need to consider is, am I close to the target? Is this a one-off or a pattern? And what might be causing the difference, if there is one? As mentioned, EQA reports are not here to punish you. They are there to protect you and your patients. So as you can see, reviewing an EQA report isn't a test of perfection. It's simply checking whether your results are accurate, consistent, and safe. And if they're not, it helps you catch it early. It's here to support you to provide safety and confidence in the testing that you are providing. So with that in mind, let's bring the whole journey together. So point of care is growing and quality must grow with it. EQA gives us the independent reassurance that results are accurate, comparable, and trustworthy. Our point of care users come with incredibly diverse backgrounds, and that means our support needs to be clear, accessible, and also practical. The challenges we see with training, timing, websites, interpreting reports, these are not failures. They are the byproducts of busy clinic environments where the good news is that every single one of these challenges has a solution. Performance monitoring helps us spot issues early. Practical processes keep everything on track, and partnership between point of care testing teams and the labs keeps patients safe. And before we finish, I want to show you one final slide that ties this all together in a practical way. So these are the issues that we most often see across point of care testing settings and some of these issues that I've talked about today. And as you'll see, most problems are not dramatic. They're practical with easy solutions that can be implemented. Whether it's missed samples, login issues, lack of training, or uncertainty around reports, the fixes are really simple and achievable. So if you take away one message today, let it be this. Point of care EQA doesn't rely on perfection. It's not about whether one person with that logon is off sick, whether the EQA sample turns up on the only day the clinic is running, or that you can't interpret the reports because it looks like it's written in an entirely different language. None of these are deal breakers. Every one of them is solvable, and most of the solutions are simple. What point of care testing really relies on is a good system, good communication, which are all within reach. When we get these right, everything else follows.